Hi, welcome back to That Fantasy Sports Show. For those of you who watched the Jets-Patriots game last night, wow, that was painful. I'm a Jets fan, and I know our quarterback threw 3 picks last night, but he's still better than Mark Sanchez. For those of you who play regular fantasy football, you have a team for the entire season. For weekly fantasy football, you basically have one budget and you draft an entire roster of players for one weekend that you go head-to-head against other components. So let's show you how you pick a fantasy football team on one of our favorite websites, Draftkings.com. First, you have to set up an account on one of the many fantasy sports sites. We're going to try Draftkings, which is a special place in our heart. And I set up my account and I put $5 in. You can do it with credit card or PayPal. It's really quite easy. And just normal setup. And then you basically go pick a contest. So here we have a contest that's organized for both baseball and football, since we're one of those fun parts of the year where they overlap. We're going to enter a contest for football. And the one that we thought might be a good value was the $30,000 flea flicker. So we're going to click on it here to select that game. You can see that this has up to 6,750 contestants, and there's already 2,111. If you ever want the rules, you can click up here to see the rules for the game. And you can also see who else is playing the game here. So we're going to go ahead and draft a team now, so I'll show you. The prize payouts are pretty generous. It's prizes that go all the way down to the top 1,500 finishers. So it's a pretty good chance to get some money back. All right, we're going to draft the team now. And the contest will be live in about 42 hours, which will be Sunday, I think, first kickoff East Coast time. And what happens is we have a balance of $50,000 to draft a team for the standard positions in fantasy football. So a lot of you who play fantasy football recognize a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex position that could be anything, tight end, kicker, defense, special teams. So as in anything for daily fantasy, I think the key thing is to try to lead with a strong start. So we'll take Peyton Manning as our quarterback. He had a phenomenal week last week with 7 touchdowns against Baltimore. Don't think he'll have that here, but he's going up against his brother Eli, and we think it's going to be a shootout on Sunday. So take him first. Now on running back, we're going to be a little bit more risk-taking here, because you can't afford to draft all the best players. You're burning through your salary too fast. So in here, our sleeper picks here, after doing some research, is we're going to go a little bit sneaky here and go after I can't always pronounce his name wrong. Joaquin Bell from Detroit here. They had a really good game last week. And he's a little bit cheaper, as you can see. And our other sneaky pick is Eddie Lacy. For those of you who have been following the Green Bay running back situation through the years, you know it's always been by committee, but we think Eddie's got the goods. He had a very weak first half, but played much of the second half after his first half fumble last week. And he looks really good on the field. Plus, he's cheap. On the wide receiver side, we are going to go probably get 1 stud wide receiver. So we'll go, there's a couple of choices here. We like the Pittsburgh and Cincinnati matchup. AJ Green's got a really good quarterback throwing to him in Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh is basically in shambles. Their running game was non-existent last week, and they lost their starting center. So it's going to be an interesting game. We think AJ Green's going to romp. The only problem is if in all these games, if the offense or the winning team gets too far ahead, they're not going to throw the ball up. But we think this will be a shootout. We think Ben's going to fall behind and start throwing the ball up. So we go for AJ Green. The other receiver that we had picked for this week, let me scroll through here, was going to be the number 2 receiver at Baltimore, Marlon Brown. A lot of people saw him in preseason and thought he looked really sharp. And with the injury to Jacoby Jones, there's no one after Torrey Smith in the wideout position. And Marlon Brown actually had a great game. Had a couple of drops, but he looked really good in game week 1. Tight end, we're going to go for the Giants tight end in the game that they're playing on Sunday. The inside scoop that we've got is that Denver is susceptible to a tight ends getting under the coverage. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's look. Brandon Myers, that's our guy. Flex. So for flex, before we do flex, we're going to go fill out the kicker, defense, and special teams. Now, for those of you who play fantasy, kicker and defense and special teams, there's a lot of variability here. It's hard to predict, but I think we're going to try to, on the kicker first, we're going to go for an indoor dome, and for a game that we think is going to be a shootout between 2 folks with decent defenses. So we'll put Greg Zuerlein here. On our defense special teams, We're also not going to go spend big time money here, although they're all pretty close in price. We also think on this one that the Detroit Lions will have a really good game. Their pass rush was really, I think, much improved, even over what we saw in the preseason. So we think that that's going to be a good value pick for us. So we're going to take the Lions here. And now we see what we have left. So by being a little bit more risk-taking on the running back slot and just some sneaky, wide receiver 2 tight end action here, we have room for one more marquee player. So let's look at running back. Maybe we can get someone cheap for $8,300. Running backs, pound for pound, will probably get you more bang for your buck. Oh, look, we might get Doug Martin. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. Let's think about that. Tampa Bay had an awful game against the Jets that they should have won. So they're going to be out for blood. New Orleans is going to be throwing the ball a lot, but Doug Martin's a decent pick. Let's see. So it's a toss-up between Martin or Peterson. I think we'll go for the... interesting here. I think we'll go with Doug Martin. So there we got it. That's our team. If you notice, we have $200 left here. We've debated a couple of times about trying to get that last bit of dollar in, but if you have a strategy, stick by it. I think our rule of thumb is that if you've got $300 or less here for remaining salary, don't worry about it. Don't start obsessing and start changing too many pieces. So there we are. And we're going to submit our team and hope we finish in the top 1,500. Let's go for this. All right, let's replenish our balance too. Enter now. All right, we're in, and that's how easy it was. And so we'll be reporting back next week after the game's over and see how we did, and hopefully let's see if we won some money. Okay, that's how it's done. Pretty easy, right? Let's tune in next week to see how our team does and answer the 3 pressing questions as we head into the weekend. First, how bad is Tony Romo's rib injury? Second, do the Pittsburgh Steelers, are they going to find a running game this week? And then lastly, Michael Vick, boom or bust. That's all for now. Let's see you next week on That Fantasy Sports Show.